Peace. Welcome back to the Voices of Reason show. I'm your host, Skilo Slim, and today we have a very special guest in the building. I'm very honored that she made time to come and visit with us. And I'm gonna pass it around so she can introduce herself.
Hi, good morning. I'm Cara Eastman, running for the United States Congress.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm glad. And so since it's the first time you're here, I just wanted to ask you, what made you want to take the step into politics? Because that's to me, it's like a very big and intimidating responsibility.
Absolutely. I was publicly elected to be on the board of Metropolitan Community College in 2014, so that's when I really started thinking about this. My background is in nonprofits. I've been working in social services and human services my entire career, over 20 years. And a friend of mine reached out to me and asked me to run for the college board, and I love Metro. I'd done some work with them, and so I got elected to that board. I was really excited to do that. And then along the way, people would always ask me if I was thinking about running for higher office, and I'd say, no, people like me don't get elected. I've been fighting for poor people my whole career, speaking up for people who don't have a voice. And after Donald Trump got elected, it seemed like maybe we were willing to elect anybody. And so I decided then that it could be a viable path for me to do this, and it's been the greatest honor of my life.
Right. That's beautiful. And so it's just from that passion to serve?
Absolutely. I think that we're at a really interesting time in our country where the divide between the people who have so much wealth and the people who don't has gotten so big. And we need people who are going to actually stand up and fix that. Our political system is corrupt, and we need somebody who's going to refuse corporate PAC money and actually fight the system and make it better for everybody, because we need civil discourse. We need to come together and we need to solve problems. And I'm trained as a social worker. That's what we're trained to do.
Right, definitely, yeah. So that seemed like it would be a good fit.
I think so too.
Yeah. So what's the main thing that you would want people to know, who maybe they don't really know who you are? Because I know that the last election, it was a team that came out and they told us a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then we was like, okay, yeah, we support, we put the sign in the yard.
Yeah.
But for people who've never really heard you speak, or what's the main thing you would want them to know?
Well, that I really do believe in our country and believe that we can be better, and that I'm running not for a position of power or influence, but because I think that my voice in Congress is needed right now. We need people who know how to bring people together to solve problems. We need people who aren't tied to a party, but rather tied to the people and representing the people in our community. And I think it's important for people to know my background, that I've been serving people my entire career, and that's really why I'm doing this. I believe in equality, and not just saying that, but actually have been working for equality for a long time. And so I think I also want people to know that I am incredibly accessible, and that I will sit down and talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere, because I think it's really important for our elected officials to actually listen to people and not just talk to them. And so I want to listen to people. I want to hear from people, even if we don't agree. I want to sit down and talk about it, because I think there are places where most of us find common ground. We all care about our families. We all want decent housing. We want to be able to make a livable wage. And we want health care that isn't causing bankruptcy. So I think we agree on most things. It's just a matter of actually coming together and then putting those ideas out there, and then making sure that we're electing policymakers who are going to solve those problems.
Definitely. That's a wonderful way to say it. Definitely. So what would be, when we spoke before, it was I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was a board thing that was coming up. I'm sorry, I forget the name.
That's okay. So the forum that we're having on September 7th.
Perfect.
This is a Black and Brown forum that we're having. I have the information about where it's being held.
Yeah,
it's going to be at the Jehovah Shammah Church International. That's on 3020 Huntington Avenue, September 7th from 4 to 5:30. And we had listened to concerns of people, especially in North and South Omaha, saying that they felt like they weren't being heard by our current representative in Congress, and that they're looking for policymakers who are going to listen to them. And so we decided to bring people together as a listening opportunity, as a learning opportunity. I've spent most of my career in Omaha, working in North and South Omaha, fixing housing. That's been the focus of my work, going into people's homes there, actually figuring out some of the solutions to such crappy housing that we have, and putting more money and more resources and bringing people together to solve those problems, because the organization that I ran focused on unhealthy housing.
Right.
But I think now, in running for Congress, there are bigger, not necessarily bigger issues, but there are other issues.
Right.
There are a lot of issues, and people are feeling frustrated, and they're tired of their policymakers showing up for ribbon cuttings or for parades, but not actually being there to listen to the concerns of the community. And so I am that person that's gonna sit down and listen to people, and we want to bring people together and talk about racial and social justice, and talk about economic issues and the lack of job opportunities in North Omaha, and the crappy housing and the streets that are crumbling. Because these are serious issues. It's hard for people to get to work. The transportation issues in North Omaha are serious. And we're seeing some things happening. I mean, I'm proud to have been a part of some of the movements that have happened to make our community better, but there's so much more to do. And I'm gonna create a plan to actually address the issues in North Omaha with input from the community.
Right. And yeah, that's a big thing, because it's a lot of people in North Omaha who feel unheard. And a thing that I noticed is that now it's starting, like when people say North Omaha, it's kind of like code for black people. Mm-hmm. And what people, you can always tell what part of town they're from, because what you don't understand is that everyone's in North Omaha.
That's right.
It's like black, brown, white, immigrant.
Right.
And so what happens, like a lot of my friends that I talk to, happens is that everybody focuses on black, and they don't realize that really it's a working class community. Mm-hmm. So like why should a person like that, who might, be, an entry-level worker, like why should they vote for you?
Well, I believe right now that we have far too much influence from corporations in our country. The tax bill that was passed by the Republicans was a handout to the wealthy. Right. And we need people who are gonna fight for working people. The average net worth of somebody in Congress is $1 million. I'm not a millionaire, I'm not independently wealthy, I work for a living. I have to work in order to support my family. And so I'm gonna fight for people to make sure that they have a living wage. We need to raise the minimum wage. I'm gonna make sure that there's a balance of power between the people at the very top and the workers. I'm all for unions. I come from a union family.
Local 3.
So, and I want to make sure that people have access to health care, and in a way that doesn't cause them to have to choose between putting food on the table and paying for medicines. I decided to run for Congress because of my mother's own outrageous medical bills. Right. And so I'm going to fight to make sure that everybody has health care. And we have so many people running for president right now that are putting out incredible solutions. The Democrats who are running this is the party of ideas right now, where you've got Democrats who have solutions across the board, but solutions, whereas the Republican Party right now wants to take away your health care. So I'm gonna make sure that people know that I will fight for them and put them first over the needs of the corporations, over the needs of the very wealthy. They have plenty of voices, they don't need mine.
Right. I agree. Because that's the biggest issue. Like, that's how I feel, is like, because I've always been like an independent, like ever since I started voting. And it just feels like the things that are important to me, it's like they don't get brought up. Or if it gets brought up, it's like, it becomes like a back burner hindsight type of thing. And I feel like that's why a lot of people get disconnected from politics. That's like one of the reasons I was excited that you came, because it's a chance for people to see and hear you like in a little more in depth. So if it's like any like talking points or anything, just throw them in there. Well, don't be afraid, because we want people to get to know you.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I don't even necessarily run my campaign on talking points. Like, I'd rather actually have conversations with people and hear what your concerns are about your family, about your community, about politics, about the government in general, and work on solutions. Because right now we just keep hearing all this bickering and back and forth and such divisiveness and rhetoric that is inciting racism, white supremacy, homophobia, sexism, coming from the highest level of leadership in our country. Right. And then Yeah, I was just at an event where he had some Republicans saying like, oh no, that happens regardless. Well, look at the hate crimes that have gone up since Donald Trump has taken over as president.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's definitely gotten worse.
And we have to do something about it, and people need to know that their policymakers are going to stand up and not just say one thing, but then do another, but actually be who they are, be authentic, and fight for them.
Right. I definitely agree. And that's part of, to me, the solution for that is that it's a part of our country who feels left out. Now,
A big part.
Yeah, definitely. And even if you can break it down, and you're like a professor or whatever, you can break it down and say, oh no, you have advantages. It doesn't matter if they actually have these advantages.
Right.
It's like they're feeling left out. And when you feel left out, anybody can come in and say, hey, they're the reason. They're the reason. Like, oh, it's the immigrants. Oh, it's that black guy. You know, and you can blame it. And it's like, that's why it's important, I feel like, for us to come out and include everyone. You
Right.
know?
Well, it's usually the people with privilege who are telling people that they have advantages.
Right.
And I also think it's funny right now, or not so funny, this idea that, you know, when we call out racism for what it is, and that people are now, you know, white people are offended by being called racist, that is nothing compared to the racism that people of color actually experience. And so I don't feel particularly bad for people for being called racist. If you're acting like a racist, if you're promoting white supremacy, if you're endorsed by a white supremacist and you don't denounce it, then we're going to call you out. And that is nothing compared to the oppression that people feel right now and do feel left out. And if we don't do something about it, it's going to continue and we're going to be further divided.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have, because you're running for, like, what exactly is the position you're running for?
United States Congress. So
Right.
Nebraska has 3 districts. I'm in the 2nd district, which is all of Omaha, Douglas County, which I won last time. And then a little bit of Sarpy County that wasn't gerrymandered in 2010.
Right. Is it now?
Yeah, so the district was gerrymandered, and unfortunately, which is a whole corrupt political system where you have partisan, so you've got, like, you know, Democrats or Republicans, whoever's in power, make up the districts.
Right.
And so obviously the Democrats, if they're in power, they make it up so that it's more heavily Democrat. If the Republicans do it, it's more heavily Republican. So the Republicans have been in power in Nebraska, so they've made the district more Republican. And we need to end that process. I mean, we need independent third parties because it shouldn't be a political process. It should just be based on population.
Right.
And so there's a way to fix that as well. But yeah, so I'm running for Congress. The current representative is Don Bacon, and he has voted 95.7% of the time with Donald Trump.
Right.
So he touts himself, says he's bipartisan. That's not bipartisan. That's just voting with the Republicans in your own party.
Right. Well, I will say, and this is not a reflection of you, but I did reach out to him, and they said that they would come. And
Good.
then when I see him in person, he wouldn't even shake my hand. So, Mr. Bacon, sir, you're always welcome. But again,
You should come on.
yeah, he should come on.
Yeah.
I think so. Just because it's just a way to get to, because it's like, it's a bunch of platforms for everyone to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a little more in-depth. And those people who really are, because a lot of people who watch our show, they ask me personally when they see me or online, like, hey, why do you support voting?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like people who feel as if the system is not for them, they're left out of the system. They feel like when they do vote and they do get involved, nothing comes of it. So it's like, that's one of the reasons I was excited that you would come, so that those people can see you and hear what you have to say and realize that people are fighting to make a change, but we just need everyone to get on board.
Right, absolutely. Well, and we're seeing this new wave of people in Congress who are making changes and
Definitely.
are standing up and fighting against the current establishment. And I think that's really encouraging for people. But I understand not feeling like a part of the process. I don't currently feel represented by any of our elected officials, our mayor, our congresspeople, our senator, our governor, because they are so hyper-partisan as Republicans. They don't represent me.
Right.
And that's frustrating. And I think we need to show people that there are different ways of doing things. And for people who feel like their vote doesn't count, I lost by 4,945 votes.
Right.
That's a very, 1.9%, incredibly small margin. That was last year. We have an opportunity to change that. So everybody out there, get out there and vote. It's really important to be registered and make sure that you're talking and engaging with your policymakers, because it does actually make a difference. We can make a difference for our district. We can make a difference in each community. And I am excited to run again and show people who I am.
Right, definitely. It sounds good to me. Definitely. Because like you said, that's a very small, I didn't realize it was that small.
It was so small.
Yeah, I tried.
Painful.
I did my part. I tried. Okay, so before we run out of time, I just wanted to know, do you have like an economic plan or anything like that?
Absolutely. So this is divided between what somebody in Congress can actually do for the district.
Right.
And so we're soon going to be putting out my economic plan for the district. But nationally, raising the minimum wage to me is crucial. And you get all these people saying like, oh, it's going to make businesses go under. I've run a small business, a small nonprofit business, where we always pay people at least $15 an hour, and mostly a lot more than that. As a small business owner, somebody who runs a small business, a nonprofit, if I was able to go out and actually raise that money to pay my employees a good salary, anybody can do that. Right. And I think people don't understand that right now, when you're making $9 an hour, trying to put food on the table for a family of 3, 4, 5, I know way too many families in our district that are working 2 or 3 jobs just to be able to afford simple things. And then, you hear people talk about like, oh, well, people are living extravagantly and taking money from the system, all this stuff. It's like, no, what we're doing is creating a culture where people who are living in poverty, people who used to be considered middle class, but now there is no middle class, are struggling. And our one broken car, 1 hour in the emergency room, somebody gets laid off for a second. I mean, one disaster that actually can dismantle an entire family. And our representatives do not understand that because they have means, they have wealth. So they don't understand what it means when your car breaks down and you can't get to work. And how that affects your family. They don't understand when you shut down the government and you have government employees who don't take a salary for a little bit, 1 or 2 paychecks. I've heard people in the government say, oh, that's no big deal. That's a huge deal.
That's a huge
Most
deal.
of us live paycheck to paycheck. So we need policymakers who understand what it's like to be a regular person who just wants to be able to take care of their family, go out to dinner once in a while, watch a movie, and have a good life. And that we're all just in such precarious situations where little things happen that we can't control, and it can dismantle a whole family. And I just don't think that that's right in the United States of America.
Right, I definitely agree. I hear the arguments with the, like over the food stamp program. I know it has an official name, but, but, and it's like, I never understood that concept, because it's like, living in America, you know how much food that we waste?
Exactly.
Like how many like green peppers go to waste because it doesn't look like an ideal green pepper.
Right.
So to give food for people who would actually need it, like it's fine to me that it helps the kids who need it if like a few people here and there are actually scamming the system. Like it balances out. So I never understood like.
Well, people love to talk about the people who are scamming the system, who are taking food stamps or from SNAP. But then we don't talk about all of the very wealthy people who are scamming the system in corporations, or when we bail out the banks and how they're taking government handouts. So I just think we need to like level the playing field there and say, of course, people are always there's always going to be somebody that takes advantage of a system. But when we're talking about people living in poverty who are trying to feed their families, who are just trying to get ahead, or who are just trying to save their lives, it's a different situation.
Definitely, because it actually makes a difference.
Right.
And I feel like those are the type of, like those social safety net programs, those help to me, lower crime. Because I know a lot of people who had so much pride, they didn't even want to get those, they didn't want to be on any of those programs.
That's right.
But they needed it for their family. So it's like if that safety net wasn't there, like a lot of people, there's a lot of men and women who will do anything for their family.
That's right.
So I would rather that you can just get a little help while you need it, you know, opposed to like, oh, we don't care.
Well, and haven't we all been in those situations where we just need a little bit of help?
Yeah, I definitely have.
Yeah, me too.
Right. So you think that, like, I don't know, it's like a thing of conscience. Like I said, I pay attention to politics, and I've always been engaged since I could vote. And it's like now it seems more important to be involved now, because like these fundamental, like, to me, America is compassionate. You know, like it's a place of second chances, of like work hard, it'll benefit, and it's like it's starting to seem as if it's becoming more slanted to where no matter how hard you work, like you're other.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, America is the land of opportunity in theory, and that the idea of the American dream is being ripped apart. And it used to be, I mean, when you know, my grandfather taught me that if you worked hard and you were a good person and you didn't lie, cheat, or steal, you could get ahead. And that's not necessarily true anymore for a lot of people in our country. And unfortunately, the voices in Congress are standing up for the wealthy and large corporations and not for everybody else. So it's time to change that.
Right, I definitely agree. We've come to the part of the program where you can, if people want to reach out or help you in any kind of way, I like to say the shameless plug part.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I mean, we've really ramped up our campaign in the last couple of months. We just opened an office at 72nd and Farnham. We need volunteers. We need people to come out eventually and help us knock doors, make phone calls, spread the word, host events in your own community. We're going to be bringing canvassing events to people's homes, and we always need a little bit of money. So it's eastmanforcongress.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, either Eastman for Congress or Cara for Congress, Cara with a K. But, and even those little donations, I mean, so I have refused all corporate PAC donations. We have way too much, money has way too much influence in our political system right now. And when you have politicians who are funded by corporations, how do you expect them to then act on behalf of the people and not on behalf of those corporations? And I've been offered corporate PAC money and have said no. So that means I'm relying on grassroots donations for our campaign. Last time we had over 90,000 donors who donated to the campaign. Wow. And we want more of that money to come from within the district, because we don't have that culture here of political giving to Democrats. The Republicans have plenty of money, so we're not going to worry about them. But so those $1, $2, $5 donations actually go a long way, because that means that you get on our mailing list. That means that, you know, you're tied into that. You can do that anyway just by signing up. But I think it's really important for people to understand, when you have candidates like myself who are not taking corporate money, that I need your help. I need your help to be able to get the word out. If, you know, people say, oh, well, I don't know what you stand for. Well, that money helps us spread that word. So by donating, by coming to events, by hosting events, and by volunteering for us, we can actually continue this momentum of this movement that we've created, where we're going to start changing the way that the political system functions in our country.
Definitely, definitely. That's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate you coming out today. I know it's Saturday morning, you know, and it means a lot that you will be accessible in that way.
Anytime.
You know, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks.
Because I know it's like you got a lot of stuff to do, and like I said, it's Saturday.
Everyone's busy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, okay, I would want to say that like I am not telling you who to vote for. I'm not even suggesting who you should vote for.
I am, though.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I want people to get involved in the system. And you look and you see what they're about, and if it meets what you're about, it meets your morals, then you go and you support, because I don't want to hear people continuously complain about the system and they're not involved. Like, period, point blank. Y'all know who y'all are. We'll see each other and get involved and help out. 4,000 votes?
It was less than 5,000. I mean, such a small amount. And the problem is that, you know, it's only a little bit more than half the people in our district who voted. So if you don't think your vote counts this time, it counts. Keep in mind, in 2008, our district, the Nebraska 2nd, gave an electoral college vote to Barack Obama. We have the ability to do that this time for the Democratic nominee.
Right.
And that's important because, and that's why they come here, right? They
Right.
know this is going to be a close election. And I think Democrats can't be complacent right now. I mean, there's still a lot of Trump supporters out there. So we have to make sure that everybody is out there voting in this district because it will matter.
Definitely.
And we could be that deciding electoral college vote for the Democratic nominee that's time. And if that's Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren or any of the amazing people running, we have to get behind them because we have got to get rid of Donald Trump.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's it. That's a beautiful way to end it, right?
Thank you.
I think so. So again, thank you for coming, and everybody tuning in. We'll see y'all next week, and please reach out and do what you can. If you feel like this lines up with your moral compass, then get behind it and support. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.